I'm gonna do it right now.
And remind me that we're going to talk about.
Hello, we're live. I told you I
I,
was going live.
ah,
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and I'm here with Alison and TL, and this is Maintaining Frame. What is going on with YouTube? Like, I don't understand why. Number one, I set up the show this morning, like at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and there was no notification that went out on our Discord server, and there's no one waiting. There's a few people, but not many, and this is a public live stream. I feel like the algorithm is out to get us for real now. Like they're
uh,
actually like, what do
it's
you think it is? You think it's because of the title?
it might be the repetition of the title because we put this out like last Friday. It could be, yeah. I mean, you can't discredit the idea that the algorithm war is out
Sounds
to
like
get
some
us.
kind of like mythical ogre that lives in
Algorithm war.
the
Hey,
under the
there you go.
bridge in yeah,
You don't
the
like my
Algrims.
portmanteau? The
Mm-hmm.
algorithms. I mean, it's possible that the algorithms are out to get us, but it's also possible that they're doing like they have another server outage or it's just YouTube um,
I don't know.
not working.
I think YouTube is actively trying to
Oh
attack us at
yeah,
this point.
oh yeah. The
I
question
mean,
is if they're doing it very specifically like this. Like I mean, we're already,
well, they don't have to get specific. Now they can just have AI, like,
yeah,
because
I guess
before
so.
you would need like a team of people to find all of the I don't know, heretical content and like suppress it. Now you can get AI to do it. And it doesn't,
Mm,
like, they're not going to kill our channel in terms of like taking it down because we're not breaking their terms of service, but limiting our reach. I think I used to think that was like conspiracy theory territory like years ago.
yeah, until they
And
showed
just
turned
I
up
think
and
that was, well, until it turned out we were like making several lists.
yes,
So
we're on lists.
even though we weren't, yeah,
Doing anything, yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, it could be one, A, B, or C. No. But all right. So, and speaking of YouTube and potential workarounds, please go to feedthebadger.com/support, or sorry, feedthebadger.com/justtip to send in a message and a tip if you so wish with that message. Well, actually, you do have to. All right, just go to feedthebadger.com/just the tip. It's like super chat, except we call it super chow, and it's basically the same thing. And you don't have to use YouTube and run the gauntlet of YouTube's AI algorithms, determining whether your content is acceptable, your comment content. And when I have it available, you can support the show at feedthebadger.com/support. And if you would like to read
Is it not
more,
available yet?
no, because I
Oh,
have to
okay.
do a whole bunch of like plug-in work, and
I see.
I think I might be procrastinating, so I
You
really need
think?
to not. Yeah, yes, I am. I really
Okay.
need to knuckle down on that, and I will. I
Yeah.
will get it. I will get it
All
done.
right.
I'm going to be doing it after this stream. All right, so it should be done soon.
Fair.
All right,
Okay.
feedthebadger.com/support to support the show, and badgernation.online if you want to read about more of the frameworks and the research that I talk about, which is my original research into aspects of male-female cognition and endocrinology and all kinds of other stuff. All right, so
Right.
let's.
So I
Speaking.
changed the title to, I don't know if it's going to matter, but I changed the title because it does seem appropriate. I was just like in a hurry to get it done. It was 9 in the morning. Okay. But anyway, so hi, Teal dear. How are you doing?
Warm, melting, death. Donna Haraway, cyborgs.
Don't
My
forget the mushrooms.
delusional fever dreams, mushrooms.
Lemurs.
I discovered the name for one of my new bands now coming through reading all this. I'm going to call it the Ironic Ubermensch. It's a post-industrial band with pop-punk neo-folk overtones. You probably wouldn't get it.
Oh, good lord. I
only
tried.
released our content on MySpace because we're going back. We're retro.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there's a good argument
Old
for that.
Pizza Hut is back, and now MySpace and Blockbuster Video.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should never have left MySpace. honestly. Or
It
the Usenet. Let's go
does
back.
it not still exist? Is MySpace for real gone?
I don't think it is. I just don't think anybody really uses it unless it's ironic. Or we could go all the way back to like Usenet. Just everything be Usenet again.
Yeah.
I
No
have a very
social-
lengthy article about the downfall of MySpace. You can check it out on my Life journal.
Oh.
Okay. That's like
So,
double irony, I think. It's like we're achieving levels of irony no one ever thought possible.
You may live to regret using the word irony because Donna Haraway uses it quite a lot in this cyborg paper. It's her entire framework of understanding the world, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, she doesn't get to own words. That's not how it works. I refuse to allow her to decide that her words become her property. Has she pissed on that word? I don't think so. Can you? So therefore, it is available to everybody to use. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be enjoying the how she abuses the word irony shortly. I was reading the first paragraph. I didn't actually. I attempted the first paragraph, and then I'm like, I'm just running this through my summarizer because what the first of all, she begins her first paragraph, and I remember this isn't a digression, right? Your first freaking paragraph, shouldn't you be like giving you a summary, giving your audience a summary of your thesis? And she's just like, she's doing the like literature 101 student kind of thing when they're writing their very first story, and then they just start off and the narrator is of course first person, and the first thing they do is digress into some philosophy of the universe. And it's like, well, this is your philosophy of the universe and you're already digressing from it? Like what? Okay.
yeah.
Anyway, I didn't read it. I put it through the summarizer.
Well, I guess then it's up to me.
Yep.
So Nobafan, yeah, I guess I'll be the one. Nobafan21 gave us a Rumble rant and said, I've heard many years ago the algorithm dislikes numbered content because users feel like they'll need to watch episode 1 of the series before understanding the 1000th episode of One Piece, Pokemon, etc. Well, I mean, you don't want to skip parts, but I changed the title anyway, so it doesn't have a number. But okay, so let's get into this. This is the website, vnsmatrix.net projects/the Cyberfeminist Manifesto for the 21st century. And then it says 1991, so I guess this is old in a way, or at least that's when it was conceived. We are the future cunt. That's literally what it says on the screen. I don't know if there should be a comma in there and it's basically saying we are the future cunt, or if they're saying we are the cunt of the future. And yeah, I said cunt a lot of times now. So
my assumption is that this is being organized and taking place in Australia, because that would explain a lot.
Oh, maybe.
Whoa. I just saw a subheading.
What?
Go back up. VNS Matrix Merchants of Slime.
Yeah.
This is some serious like web 1.0 kind of thing going on here.
Maybe that's what they were going for. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if is there a way to date a website to find out if it's like old, and maybe that's what's going on here. But okay.
I am just going to point out briefly that that VNS Matrix Merchants of Slime, really weird coincidence. That is the name of my pre-grunge spin-off band. They didn't consult me about referencing us there, but here we go.
Yeah.
I think it's time to
Merchants of Slime is a good band name, though. That is a good band name. I think that's what I'm going to try to do to like maintain my sanity. Is find
let's
ways
identify
to,
band names in this.
But yeah, look for ways to make this cool. Okay, so we are the future cunt. We are the modern cunt, positive anti-reason, unbounded, unleashed, unforgiving. We see art with our cunt. We make art with our cunt. We believe in Jewisance, madness, Jewisance, madness, Holiness and poetry. I'm gonna see. Is this a word that exists? Is
As
this
far as I know, it might be jouissance, which I think will be
jouissance.
French
Yeah.
for something about life, maybe like full of vivacity. Or
Yeah, it's a
something.
French language term implying enjoyment.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, as in joie de
yeah.
vivre.
How do you
Yeah.
see art with your cunt?
Look, Alice, it's another eye, basically. It's your winking eye.
If you can use the anus as a window through which to see things, suddenly this makes sense.
I'm just trying to
Reminder
think.
that is black anality for you, using the anus as a window through which to observe blackness and black culture and society. That is academic feminism, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
I'm just trying to imagine what kind of art the cunt can appreciate. You know, like think about it. It's a narrow section of art, I would imagine, narrow and long. Okay, let's keep going.
All right. We believe in jouissance, madness, holiness, and poetry. We are the virus of the new world disorder. Ooh, so clever. Are these lyrics? Rupturing the symbolic from within. Saboteurs of Big Daddy mainframe. The clitoris is a direct line to the matrix. VNS matrix. Terminators of the moral code. Mercenaries of slime. Go down on the altar of objection. Probing the visceral temple, we speak in tongues, infiltrating, disrupting, disseminating, corrupting the discourse. We are the future cunt. Kara VNS Matrix. Okay. So
Things like
in
this cost literally millions to do and host, just so people are aware. There are people who are getting paid like 5 figures, in some cases 6, to show up and do things like this.
Yeah. It's depressing. It doesn't quite hit right for this. So no, we're not reading smut, guys. This is a manifesto. This is important. This is important stuff. This is like paradigm shifting. In 1991, VNS Matrix unleashed their collaborative manifesto, a cyberfeminist manifesto for the 21st century. They put it on the internet and a giant traveling billboard. No, do we call it the World Wide Web back then? They put it out on the World Wide Web. From there, it quickly leaked onto the radio and magazine pages and other IRL ephemera, jumping from medium to medium at rapid pace, eventually coming to rest in the center of a 6 meter by 3 meter billboard, flanked by speculative, fantastical icons in the form of a futuristic sigil. It was in this gynecanonical text that the term cyberfeminism first appeared. Yeah, but this is not a religion, guys. This is just like a worldview. You know, they have icons and they're in a futuristic sigils, and it's a gynecanonical text. So, but yeah, not a religion.
So within this framework, does this mean that the AOL woman is like one of the saints of this thing? Anyone remember her? The AOL woman with the little bob cut and the dress was like made out of flowing text and web page looking things.
Oh, what was her name? I'm gonna dig up a picture for people so I can look at. Or should I just put AOL woman?
Yeah, she was in like all of the adverts. This is just what I'm thinking. It's like, yes, cyberfeminism, women on the internet, and all of this, because it's era appropriate for what we're talking about.
AOL lady. I think we found her. Let me see. Or I think I may have found her. Well, there's a lot. Oh yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, hold on a second. Is this a small image? It is. Too small.
I do have one thing to point out. They say they are saboteurs of Big Daddy mainframe, which obviously means they're completely ignorant of what is actually going on. But they require Big Daddy mainframe to even exist and have their ridiculous little movement. You know what I'm saying? Because without it, the very operative structure that they exist within would not exist.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
they're
not playing it with
basically
sound. I'm just showing
they're
the ad.
basically a bunch of harem girls saying that they're doing a coup. They're going to be the ones in charge, and then they stop at the gate and they're like, "Yeah, we did it. We got to the gate." Well, are you going to go out of the gate? No, no. It's too nice here. We have no
Yeah.
conception of what lies without, and we don't even like they don't even realize that there's an out. So they think that just declaring that I guess they are saboteurs of Daddy Mainframe means that they have successfully engaged in a coup against him, even though they have not exited everything that he controls at all. So literally, it's just if we signal this, if we say the words, that makes it true.
Yep.
What do you do with this kind of thinking?
And move.
Yeah, just except at some point you realize you cannot have people whose native thinking patterns run along these lines have access to the levers of society, because what will result will not be good, will not be functional, will not persist for very long. But okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess that's a very controversial thing to say. All right,
Yeah.
let's
All
do
right.
some more.
Let's get into the actual essay. That was just like the web page, right? So this is this the AOL lady you were talking about, Teal dear? That
Yeah,
I'm
that
showing
is
right
her.
now. Yeah, okay, there she is. Yep. All right. So I could see her being like one of the patron saints of this. I could see that completely. All right, so here we go. The Manifesto by Melinda Reckham, 2018, so at least not that old, not 1991. They say that they foster disorder in all its forms: confusion, troubles, violent debates, disarray, upsets, disturbances, incoherences, irregularities, divergences, complications, disagreements, discords, clashes, polemics, discussions, contentions, brawls, disputes, conflicts, routs, debacles, cataclysms, disturbances, quarrels, agitation, turbulence, conflagrations, chaos, anarchy. What is this, a slam poem? Monique?
Whiskey,
What?
whiskey, table, bottle, chrysanthemum, locker, ocean.
Oh my god!
We're just listing words now, apparently.
Is this
So let's go with it.
is this like the thing from Blade Runner where they're like, testing the replicants to see if they're human, if they're
The
and
empathy response,
they
the
throw
Voight
the
cough,
words at them. Yeah, right.
the Voight cough
Confusion.
test.
Yeah.
You've come
Oh,
across a pocket of anarchy. Do you?
good lord. All right. I mean, they probably think this is really deep. Is what I'm saying. It's not a word salad because a salad tastes good when you have all the ingredients together. This is like this is like the word version of the Ganges, okay? But anyway, okay. So that was just like to prepare you for this, okay? So if you couldn't get past this first whatever this is, intro, you're not ready for the actual manifesto. So I'm going to try. I like to imagine that VNS Matrix's A Cyberfeminist Manifesto for the 21st Century joyfully spat itself out, simmered over summer under the thinning ozone in Adelaide, a city sited between the desert and the Antarctic, fed by the cyber fiction of Pat Cardigan, Octavia Butler, William Gibson, Neil Stevenson, simultaneously soothed and stimulated by techno, Patti Smith, ambient trance, and Diamanda Gallas, enraged by the sexism of Wired and Mondo 2000, and engaged by the raw psychosexuality of Kathy Acker and Linda Dement.
Okay. Is this ever going to get to Donna
Let me
Haraway's
see.
actual, or is this something completely different? Like that just references.
I'm wondering now if I have the wrong.
Yeah,
No,
I
there's a
think this.
bunch of. This is not. Is this not it? Okay,
No, I
hold
don't
on.
think so. I think you
Then
just went
why?
into
What
a
is this then?
pocket
How come I
universe.
searched for? Okay. Donna Haraway, is that her name?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Donna Haraway.
I was under the impression we were doing the cyberfeminism.
Don't worry, I got it. I'll get you the link.
An
No,
ironic dream of common language for women in the integrated circuit.
It's surprising that we've found 2 of these manifestos. You know, I mean,
Let
it's
them
not
fight.
if we had if I had a quarter for every time I found a Cyberfeminist Manifesto, I'd have 2 quarters, but which is not a lot, but it's strange.
All right, I'm gonna just use Wikipedia. It might actually be useful. Go to references, Socialist Revolution, full text of the article, Cyber Manifesto. Here we go.
That's the one. I mean,
It's an archive. It's an archive. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is.
To be fair, this one is a lot more fun because it's so
up its own ass.
Yeah,
I'll leave the tab open. I'll leave the tab open.
Let's refer back.
Yeah, maybe I can find a relationship.
Well, we can do a little comparison between these 2. Very odd that we found 2 of them identically titled. They probably. I wonder if they even reference each other. You know what?
They probably do. It's probably like 30 years on. It probably is a continuation of it that they just added on to.
Well, because look, let me go back. Look at this, okay? A Cyberfeminist Manifesto for the 21st century. So it's like, and then it says 1991 right here. And then when I go to the actual, this is an archive link on the Wayback Machine for the Cyber Manifesto. It's Donna Haraway, A Cyborg Manifesto, Science, Technology, and Socialist Feminism in the late 20th century. And look, 1991. So it's the same year. So yeah, I think it does reference itself. But I think this is like an older version. This is like the beta.
Pop me the link.
This is a web. This is an archive link. So
just
let me
just give me that, and I will incorporate this. I will enfold this into my analysis.
Sent.
All right, good.
All right. So let's try to get into this. And again, guys, send us super chats or super chows if you want to contribute to this conversation, such as it is.
You hesitate.
Swollen pause.
Okay. All right.
Let
me. I don't know if it might be worth me giving a brief overview of what Donna Haraway considers a cyborg to be.
Yeah.
It may help, but
she does have a paragraph on it here. But let's hear your thing and then hers.
Actually, before you go into it, you gave me the wrong archive link.
What?
Oh no! Wait! You gave me 2. You gave me 2. Okay, just a sec. I got it. I figured it out.
It went. Why did it go in twice? That's weird.
It just.
Oh no! It's a web archive, and then it goes, and then it also has the Stanford edu thing. That's crazy.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's how it appears in my address bar. Okay, go ahead, Tilger.
Okay, so we all know what cyborgs are. They are organic and machine. You kind of just mash them together. It's this sort of post-human, transhumanist thing. That's been the understanding of it for several decades. That's how people use it. It is not how Donna Haraway uses it. She uses it a little bit in that sense, but then it spins off into basically being a political identity. So the way that she describes the cyborg is as this ironic post-societal entity. Because society, in her framework, is objective, it is things that men have created. This goes back to some of the other textbooks that we've read from. Society and science, these things are created by men. Objectivity isn't real. It's all sexist, racist, transphobic, bigoted, capitalist, everything to put things into boxes with your male brain thinking, with your male system thinking, and therefore it keeps the female system thinking. It keeps the female process never ending out of everything. Going to the full theology angle of it, this is we hate the demiurge, who is the thing that created the material world, at best ignorant, at worst actively evil, but it is a masculine force, and then men use that internal spark of the divine that they have to create all of these categories and force reality, bend it to their will, in the same way that, as that feminist textbook once said, men created the word hysteria and in so doing made women hysterical because they defined something and therefore women became that thing. Now, the irony that Donna Haraway uses in regard to the cyborg is the fact that it is something that inherently transgresses boundaries because it is both organic and it is technological. The irony of it is that it comes out of a scientific system where everything is objective and rigid, and the cyborg is something that plays with the boundaries. It confuses all of these boundaries. It's this strange thing because it's neither male nor female. It's neither organic nor is it technological. It's all of these things and nothing, and therefore it possesses, as she likes to say, that level of irony, the incongruity with the thing that it grew out of. Unfortunately, because it does this thing where it bounces around borders and tries to become in some way indefinable, she does actually think that cyborgs therefore are more female than male, which is weird, but that is part of, I don't know, I guess how she...
Strange.
It just seems to be like, well, because as we all know, the female entities within this pseudo-spiritual framework is just wibbly-wobbly, undefinable womanness that is everything and nothing. So if it is something that is not being defined, then it's feminine in its nature. If it's something that's transgressing a boundary, it's feminine or female, because this is just how people like this work. And so within this frame, you have cyborgs, which are these slightly more feminine than masculine things. They are defying characterization. They are a rebellion against the irony of the Enlightenment frame. It gets weird. Like that, I think perhaps is enough for people to maybe begin to understand how and why she's using this word and misusing it.
I can give some additional analysis to what's going on here if you wish, if you're concluded.
There's maybe another couple of points.
Sure.
It's because she's also in this women's experience is science frame as well. She occasionally sort of touches this weird thing where the existence of this cyborg as kind of feminine but not really kind of ends up invalidating women as being the sole arbiter of what is science and what is real, because as we all know, women's opinion is the only unbiased source of knowledge because it's free from the taint of men, hypothetically anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some tie to religion other than the Gnostic tie, which is very obvious to us, I suppose, because we've dealt with it for so bloody long, but people like this don't seem to know it. I don't even know if Donna is aware that this is what she's this is what she's putting into it, but there are like sort of little religious elements to it, and it ties from like feminism, socialism, materialism. All of these things are very openly, oh yeah, these are all connected. They're all part of each other. They're inseparable. And the slight theological angle that she gets in here is that there are these acts of blasphemy, and that those things are themselves religious. And this just also ties into me that, when we talked a few weeks ago about how feminism has this aim that they have to go into religion and subvert it. They have to go into the churches, into the synagogues, into the mosques. They have to try and particularly undermine the concept of like God as father. They have to fall onto their theological, well, God is actually the overflowing immortal with the pleroma and therefore is everything, and so you attempting to limit it is bad, and technically it's actually female because it defies characterization because it is everything, etc. Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and unfortunately, she couches so much of this in her typical pseudo-intellectual, semi-philosophical bollocks that makes it very difficult to pick apart what it is that she means. And then there's just bits that are like outright internally incongruent or contradictory. It's like, oh, cyborgs exist, they replicate, but there's no organic reproduction in them. Well, if they contain organic elements, there is necessarily organic reproduction, unless you're in some, I guess, Star Trek world where you can use machines to, I guess, print cells somehow without the cells ever dividing. But I don't think that that's what she's getting to with things like that. And she also has some very strange ideas about ferns and invertebrates. Yes, just plants and bugs,
What?
which is that is kind of related to cyborgs insofar as she thinks that plants and invertebrates are, she actually just says, an organic prophylactic against heterosexism, which I find really bizarre. But these things reproduce sexually. I mean, some plants clone themselves. Invertebrates, as far as I know, are all sexually reproducing. There are probably some that can clone themselves. I'm not going to say there aren't definitively. I don't know the entire animal tree off the top of my head. But this idea that the mere existence of these things is like this prophylactic, it's therefore this protection against heterosexism. Okay, you're strange.
This is some serious Lilith energy.
Yeah.
I finally understand that reference. I have come to my understanding of Lilith energy from a very, very strange route that probably nobody wants to hear about, but
I do. Because it sounds insane, and I like insanity, and I'd like to avoid reading Donna Hathaway. Honestly, I'm serious. I can only ever stomach maybe a couple of pages of her at any given time. It is excruciating going through her writing.
Okay. Let's table that, and I will tell you why I think she's at war with the concept of woman. It's because it's an essentially operative concept. So it is about biological function. It is objective. It is based on a particular use that your body does, right? Because women gestate, they give birth, they lactate, that kind of stuff. And they also elicit particular hormonal responses in men or endocrine responses in men. So the whole gamut is very operative, like inputs, machine, output. And she denies that as a patriarchal concept, as a patriarchal cognitive concept, that women should be defined by their biological state, by their biological utility, which is not like, it's like biological utility is not just gestation, it's also whatever particular physical acumen that women bring to the world. But any of that is classified as verboten because it's operative. It's male thinking to identify women as women. So instead, what she's done is she said that women are, or woman is not, like the biological observation that women exist is male thinking. What we need to replace it with is women's own cognitive modality, which is everything in relation to everything else. You know what I'm saying? So that's how women see the general world. And so she's saying that women should be defined by women's cognition without ever being that clear. So a woman is a node in a social network, and she's defined in relation to everything else in that network. There's no operative reality to define. And she's basically saying everything should exist within women's cognitive understanding of the word, women's cosmology. And there should be no relationship to the way that men look at the world and recognize that things do things, right? That things have observable features that are innate. So she's basically saying that everything should be defined in the way women define it, and a cyborg having all of the being something that's in relation to other things. So in relation to the organic world, in relation to the cyber world, and is defined by its relationships to those things, that is feminine. And the whole process of identifying with that is feminine, because she's very much against masculinity and the daddy mainframe, or whatever the hell she calls it, and all of that. So what she's essentially saying is that there's no legitimate male cognitive operation at all. Everything should be in the female social web, and everything outside of it, everything operative, is illegitimate. So that's why women can't have an operative definition rooted in biology. They have to have a relational definition. And in fact, what ends up happening is everything is woman. Everything legitimate is woman. Everything legitimate is seeing the world through the process of where do I relate to everything else in the social web. And any cognitive process that isn't that is illegitimate, and any individual who engages in it is illegitimate, and every individual who engages in it is a legitimate target for either social censure, moving into, genocide, because they aren't really human. Does that make, do you guys understand what I'm saying, or do I need to explain it again?
Makes sense. By my understanding of it, it's wibbly wobbly womanness. It is female process. It is anything that you define is masculine demiurgical thinking, which needs to be destroyed so we can transcend back to, God or Gaia or the undefinable,
well, the social
wibbly
web,
wobbly
really.
whatever of subjective appearances, and when everything
Yeah,
becomes
so it's
one
like
again.
when I made that example of the harem girls declaring a coup against Daddy Mainframe, the Sultan, they think that the coup is simply declaring that they are free, or basically saying, well, we don't acknowledge that he constructed this reality. We're not going to give him gratitude for having constructed this reality. Therefore, the reality becomes our construct, because we have refused to acknowledge a position in the social web. So that's the way that they're thinking. And I think Donna Haraway is sort of in the same modality, is that as long as you don't acknowledge that men create the reality you occupy, you refuse to express gratitude, you refuse to express any kind of complementarianism, as long as you refuse that, then the reality, you own the reality, because you have excluded the men from the social web. So they're no longer a part of your understanding or your recognition that they should exist or have the right to exist. You get what I'm saying? So if you, I'll wait until you guys respond.
Go ahead, Tilder.
Makes sense. Like I say, it's yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's a feminine approach. So,
it's not a literal coup. It's not actually going to the Sultan and killing him and installing your own Sultan. It's just simply saying you are not part of the relational web. Therefore, all of your contributions are nullified and unrecognized. And and that's what they're doing. That's what she's doing. And she's saying, well, the concept of woman is patriarchal, and we are nullifying that. And now it doesn't exist. It's not part of the social web. It's not acceptable. And it's just, once you understand it, it makes more sense. It's not exactly logical, but it has coherence, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
It's coherent, but I mean, yeah, not logical, like you said. I got a super chow from Richard Pierre, who gives us $5 and says, the tentacular ones make attachments and detachments. They make cuts and knots. They make a difference. They weave paths and consequences, but not determinisms. They are both opened and knotted in some ways and not others. Donna Haraway, staying with the trouble, making kin in the Cthulhu scene, 2016, the broader context, according to Google's AI. Haraway uses the metaphor of string figures like the cat's cradle game to explain how the world is a web of ever-changing connections. She invites us to stay with the trouble, to embrace the complex, messy, and tangled realities of the world rather than looking for simple, clean solutions.
You mean the ones that keep us alive?
Yeah.
God damn. No, but yeah, that's exactly it. She's always staying in the being, and she's always fixated on these contradictions that never resolve. Right? They never resolve into any kind of actionable or goal or operative process. They're always just things merging and unmerging and kaleidoscoping and going left and going right and then going into other dimensions, and everything is just this endless relation between everything else. Right? That is the end state and the failure mode of relational web thinking. Like Donna Hathaway is literally like example numero uno of the relational web thinker taken to a terminal point. And I mean, it gets darker too, because this relational web thinking, completely detached from reality and any kind of consequence, all it ends up doing is becoming a hostility generator and a target marker. So it's basically it's a war machine that knows no peacetime. All right, let's.
Yeah, exactly. It basically is saying don't try to change anything.
Indoors. That was great indoors, not Richard.
That was great indoors. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Great indoors.
Yeah, take it as a compliment. Okay, so now I'm going to start the article. An ironic dream of a common language for women in the integrated circuit. This chapter is an effort to build an ironic political myth faithful to feminism, socialism, and materialism. I'm going to read that again. This chapter is an effort to build an ironic political myth faithful to feminism, socialism, and materialism. So if you're like writing all this to build an ironic political myth, why would I even care? Why would I even read at this point? You're just playing around. Perhaps more faithful as blasphemy is faithful than as reverent worship and identification. Blasphemy has always seemed to require taking things very seriously. I know no better stance to adopt from within the secular religious evangelical traditions of United States politics, including the politics of socialist feminism. But you repeat yourself. Blasphemy protects one from the moral majority within while still insisting on the need for community. Blasphemy is not apostasy. Irony is about contradictions that do not resolve into larger wholes, even dialectically, about the tension of holding incompatible things together because both or all are necessary and true. Irony is about humor and serious play. It is also a rhetorical strategy and a political method, one I would like to see more honored within socialist feminism. At the center of my ironic faith, my blasphemy, is the image of the cyborg. I'm just going to let you guys talk. I need a break. None of this is important, but also I want it to be important, but I don't want to think too much about it because, you realize
this is just this.
I'm not a serious person, but I am a serious person.
You're thinking about inputs, machine outputs. What she's doing is just doing a series of signals of her position in the relational web. She's being ironic, but also serious. She's taking it seriously, but also blaspheming. Like are just signals. Like she's just positioning herself in the web. These are coordinates. You're like, okay, what are the actionables here? What are the inputs? What are the outputs? What is going on? And she's just signaling her coordinates. It's a completely different mental cognition. And I'm laughing because, of course, it makes no freaking sense. Because you're not part of the web, and you're not part of the coordinate system. So you're like, okay, well, this should relate to like this. There should be a mechanism here. There's no mechanism. The mechanism is the coordinate system. And it's like completely contradictory, but that's because you're not translating it into the coordinate system. And she can signal things that look completely contradictory from an operative perspective, but they resolve perfectly from the relational web's perspective because they're simply tracking the coordinates that she's laying out. Oh, you are plus x plus 2, y minus 1, z, I don't know, who knows, x squared, right? This is what the relational web people are translating this into, so it makes perfect sense to them. She's both ironic and serious. She's both faithful and blasphemous because she's wanting to be in a particular position in the web, and that makes perfect sense to them because those things are completely orthogonal somehow. Whereas you're like, well, resolve, woman, resolve. Resolve into something I can work with. Okay. That's all I have to say.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're like, let's take the nail out. Like, what are the actionables here? You're speaking. You're flapping.
The worst part is, it's basically saying, let's not do anything that moves anywhere. Everything is fine as it is. And the main reason maybe is because I'm afraid that if someone, like basically the act of resolving something is masculine, I suppose.
Yes, 100%. You're getting it. The act of resolution is masculine. The act of a clean thing to do, a task loop, a goal, something to be held accountable for, that is masculine. Her spouting out a bunch of contradictory nonsense that resolves into a series of coordinates in the relational web that she's signaling to, that is feminine. And her essential ontology is that nothing should exist outside of the feminine. That the masculine is completely illegitimate. It is, like I said, the harem girls declaring a coup against the Sultan because they refuse to recognize his existence or any gratitude for the fact that he has constructed their entire reality. That's what she's doing. She's ejecting any recognition of masculinity from the relational web. And unfortunately, when a society does that, it craters for obvious reasons. And the reasons that I put out was, when you said there's no clear thing to do, right? There's no clear action. Yeah, it's clear actions that keep us alive. And when a society can't recognize that, it can't function anymore. Right? If it's being controlled by Donna Hathaways, and yes, our society is being controlled by Donna Hathaways on every freaking level, and not just female Donna Hathaways who are academic. You're talking about naval procurement is controlled by male and female Donna Hathaways that do not understand the concept of a clear task loop, a clear operational goal. That it's showing up there. It's showing up in the silver market. It's showing up literally everywhere in places you wouldn't even think it should show up. And that is the end of a civilization when we can't clearly state that things need to eventually resolve into clear actionables that keep us alive. All right, I'm getting off my podium.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I'm just checking something because I see that the chat has slowed down. Yeah, I figured there was something wrong with it. All right. A cyborg is a cybernetic organism, in case you guys didn't know. A hybrid of machine and organism, a creature of social reality as well as a creature of fiction. Social reality is lived social relations, our most important political construction, a world-changing fiction. God,
our most important.
This is so painful. Like, it's our most important political construction and a world-changing fiction. So it's a lie. But it changes the world.
She's just signaling the web, dude. She's just saying, this is my position.
The international women's movements have constructed a women's experience as well as uncovered or discovered this crucial collective object. So women's experience didn't exist before the international women's movements constructed them? This
Yes, because
experience.
before this, women's experience was put upon them by men defining things and oppressing them. So when these women were able to do their wibbly wobbly, undefinable womanness process, never ending female system thinking, now they can do all of this.
Right.
Because
I see.
they stopped having to define things by the way men define things.
Yeah. Okay. This experience is a fiction and fact of the most crucial political kind. Liberation rests on the construction of the consciousness. That's true. Well, at least like the Marxist, like critical consciousness thing, that's what this is. Okay. The imaginative apprehension of oppression and so of possibility. The cyborg is a matter of fiction and lived experience that changes what counts as women's experience in the late 20th century. This is a struggle over life and death, but it's also not serious. But the boundary between science fiction and social reality is an optical illusion.
Fiction
And
is reality. If you imagine it, it becomes so.
It's
Yep. It's also
okay.
tiresome.
It really is. It really
it
is.
is the endless process of relational web signaling, and that's all. Completely divorced from anything operational, anything that clearly states its goals and attempts to achieve them. That's what this is.
Yeah. All right. Contemporary science fiction is full of cyborgs, creatures simultaneously animal and machine who populate worlds ambiguously natural and crafted. Modern medicine is also full of cyborgs, of couplings between organism and machine, each conceived as coded devices, and in an intimacy and with a power that was not generated in the history of sexuality. Cyborg sex restores some of the lovely replicative baroque of ferns and invertebrates, which now we're getting to the ferns and invertebrates. Such nice organic prophylactics against heterosexism. So ferns and invertebrates are an organic prophylactic against heterosexism. Cyborg replication.
Their mere existence apparently disproves like heterosexuality, I guess, in the same way that cyborgs disprove heterosexuality because they're neither male nor female. They're kind of a little bit of everything, guys. They can be whatever we want them to be. Herp.
Yeah. Cyborg replication. Oh, sorry, Alison. Go ahead.
This is telling because I was saying this is Lilith energy. This is the refusal of the generative act, the way humans engage in it. Heterosexuality. Yeah, this is it's the refusal of human pair bonding, the refusal of complementarianism, the refusal of the literal physical act that produces new humans. With the it's like I said, Lilith energy. And I will explain how I went and I found this at some point, but that would be a digression. So continue, Brian.
Part of me does actually wonder if within this insane female way of thinking about this that these people seem just compelled to think about, whether they actually think that, actually I suppose they do, that people are actually just created within this, you just define them socially and then they exist. Like you don't actually physically produce them via sexual reproduction. No, you just identify that this person exists and then they spring into being somehow. Which, of course, if you're part of a theology that believes that humans are totally able to up their vibrational frequencies and manifest things into existence by just willing it to be so, well, you would think that. Of course you would.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
you can literally create other souls by just thinking about it really hard.
Yeah. And so there's no necessity of recognizing or accepting the fact that we have any evolutionary inheritance, or if you want to look at it from a religious point of view, because every religion, every philosophical system, Confucianism might be the only like outlier, but they still recognize that the union between wife and husband was the central relationship in a society from which everything else flowed. But every religious philosophy, religious faith puts the sacred right there. Like Catholicism is the relationship between man and woman is like the relationship between Christ and the church. You know, the Hinduism has the god and the goddess, and Hera, the goddess of the hearth, and all of this. So every religion, or pagan or otherwise, says that the union of male and female in marriage is sacred, right? It's a sacred union. And she is saying the exact opposite of every functional philosophy and religion throughout human history, that it is not the source of the sacred. It is actually the source of sin and demonic. It's like where hell cracks open and the demonic forces enter the world, right? That is feminism's allegation towards heterosexual union, specifically in marriage, because I think they're okay with like casual sex. That it is the source of sin. It's the source of demonic energy. It's just like the hell mouth opening up. That's what they're asserting, and it's in
Well, it's the
complete.
male part of those unions.
Well, you can't really have heterosexuality without the male part, right?
True, but all of it comes down fundamentally to just we don't want the male bit of it. Because remember, any time there's anything male, actual, otherwise, or metaphysically male, or even just male thinking, that is when all of these things become oppressive because it starts being defined.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it is the male part that's bringing the evil, but my overall point is that the result of that is to identify the point that throughout all of human history, every religion and philosophy identified as either sacred or fundamental, and is actually essential to the existence of humans. We exist because of that. And not just heterosexual sex in the casual context, but pair bonding. We exist because of that. And pointing to that and saying that is the thing that must be destroyed. You know, this is the repeating motif in feminism, is that this is the thing that must be destroyed. What a surprise, it's being destroyed, right? Cue the tradcons doing surprise Pikachu face. Why are birth rates and marriage rates declining? Where could that have come from? It must be men. Men failing to be men, not this gigantic ideology that has located the locus of evil in that very act and controls all kinds of levers in academia, government, NGOs, corporations, investment funds. No, that's not where it must be men. It must be young men failing to do what they need to do to make this all work. But anyway, it's just that's what's sort of. That's why I call it Lilith energy, because it's the same energy that was identified in Lilith, who refused, the particular configuration of a man on top. Basically, she refused missionary. And now, do you guys know about that, right?
Well, I don't know. I know some things about Lilith, but no, I didn't know that she refused missionary, though it makes sense.
Yes. And the feminist framing of that is that Lilith refused to be subordinate to Adam.
Yes,
And
that I know. She rebelled against Adam, yeah.
That she wanted equality, specifically in missionary. Like she wanted what she called equality. And feminists latch on to that and say, well, patriarchy is about dominating women. But that whole thing is about, like Lilith demanding that they have sex in a position other than missionary, wasn't about men being able to dominate women. It was about Lilith taking a complementarian act and turning it into a status jockeying. Like she took something that was complementary and sacred and she turned it into a status jockeying between the two parties. That was the actual problem. She was saying this isn't complementarianism. This isn't a sacred act. This isn't where little humans come from. This is actually Adam asserting dominance over me, and I refuse that, and I want equality. Well, that entire framing is the social web framing. It's the framing of hierarchy and something that's essentially complementarianism. Both parties are submitting. Like, if you look at the endocrine architecture, men are submitting to the fact that their freaking entire understanding of safety is reorientating around her, so that he prioritizes her safety and protection over his own. Like, there's no greater submission than that. So her submission is almost perfunctory, and to take that and that essential, like, interaction, complementarian interaction of the pair bond, and turn it into a status context or contest is the problem. That is the Lilith energy. It's taking the most essential and most divine aspect of human interaction, and most essential to our actual perpetration or continuation as a species, and it's turning it from what it is into a freaking status competition. And that is exactly the problem that Lilith brought. And by turning that into a status competition, you introduce all of the other stuff, the abortion, the casual sex, the constant, like, inability to settle, the constant turning everything into status, hierarchy, power differential, which is the relational web thinking. And then you bring in the destruction of everything from that one act. Everything else flows from it, from seeing heterosexuality as a status competition. All of the corruption flows from that. And the problem is in women's thinking, because it is not a status competition. Thinking that it is a status competition is where the corruption begins. Okay, sorry, I'm having a lot of conversation here with myself.
That's all right.
Does that make sense?
I have.
Well, yes, they've explicitly said that repeatedly.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's all the feminist papers that I've gone through, all of the ones that I quite enjoy doing because they're hilariously lewd. But every single time in all of those papers, and they always like to talk about the fucking and the getting fucked because they're really obsessed with that dynamic, and it is always penetrator as dominant, penetratee as subordinate. This is like, it's everywhere throughout their literature. Like, I have myriad live streams going about it, that this is what they do. I mean, even if you go back like a couple of weeks ago to the, you know, when I brought up the what does feminist academics say about the men's rights movement? It's, oh, you're just fucked. You have castration anxiety because women are now fucking you, and so you have to get into the female conversation. You have to grow this giant, enormous, metaphorical phallus to start fucking the conversation around you because you have to be dominant in it. Their entire canon is replete with that nonsense. It is the fundamental basis for what they do.
Yes. And I mean, like, I'm not coming at it from like a religious perspective. I'm coming at it from like a secular evolutionary perspective more. I don't like say that there isn't an aspect of divinity in this. I'm not precluding that. I'm just don't that's not my focus, if that makes sense. So so what they're essentially doing is destroying the source of human potential, the next generation, and human prosperity, right? And they're doing it because of short-term gains. And they're encouraged in doing it by financiers who enjoy the the ability to basically separate financial interests from operative interests. So you are rent seeking on men who actually make something. And that's that feminist firewall, that masculinity itself is suspect, allows financiers to do that without inevitably getting the French Revolution, right? Because it essentially pushes down the idea of being immoral on the men themselves. So they're constantly fighting with their own nature and constantly regarding their own nature as disreputable or wrong, or being encouraged to act in a world that considers it wrong. So they end up having a moral load that prevents them from recognizing their own exploitation. Now I know that sounds like commie gobbledygook, but the exploitation comes from communism itself. It comes from communism for the elites. All right. Okay, I'm going off into the weeds. Anyway, this is Lilith energy. And that's how I came to realize it, is that it is this rejection of heterosexuality. And that's something that people 3,000 years ago recognized was a failure mode for human civilization. Like 3,000 years ago, they wrote this because they're like, yeah, this stuff kills. When you get a critical mass of relational web thinking that turns everything into status jockeying, including the very source of human potential, your civilization is done for. You got to stop that shit. And it's specifically this. It is specifically women turning heterosexuality itself, the relationship between men and women, into status jockeying. That's what destroys a society. And I'm a little embarrassed how the convoluted path I took to land on this. That's why I'm like hesitant to explain it. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. They knew 3,000 years ago. Who knew? You know, like the ancients were wise.
Yeah, it's almost like they have something to offer, and there's a reason why we disenchant those people so much. Okay, so I got a super chat from official Rev Trad, and they say at Typhon Blue, is MGTOW a philosophy that views marriage as sacred? And then he made like a emoji afterwards for $5. Thank you, official Rev Trad.
I think that they view the current way that marriage is constructed in Western society to be extractive on the part of women in the state, which would tend to make it not sacred. I don't know, like maybe they have personal opinions about marriage and what it is. But I'm pretty sure that MGTOW isn't a rejection of traditional marriage like 100 years ago. It's a rejection of marriage today. Does that make sense?
It's a symptom of how marriage has changed. That's it. It's the marriage contract changed. With the introduction of no-fault divorces and the ability for women to just take men's children away with mere allegations. MGTOW is not actually a philosophy. It is merely a codification of an observable phenomenon of men just saying, all of these odds are stacked against me. Why would I even bother?
Yes, exactly. And your personal attitude to what marriage is and isn't is irrelevant to that.
I mean, a bunch of them, if you ask them, would still prefer to be married. They would still prefer to have children because, as it turns out, that's what most people want. I mean, when you survey people, the attitude, it tends to be, it sort of seems to fluctuate anything from about 95 to about 80% of people, like, want marriage and children as just like the default, and about 80-something% of people, 80-85% of people throughout all of society will achieve those things at some point. MGTOW guys are generally within that framework anyway. It's just that the experiences that they go through in life makes them think, okay, you know what, I'm just not playing this game anymore. So they give up on it. That's all that is.
Yeah, or they've just looked at how things have worked out for people in their their friend group or in their social circle, and they've seen how catastrophic it is.
Through.
Yeah, or their parents, or they're just looking at the data, at the statistics on divorce and all of that, and they're like, yeah, this is not a good place to get involved with this. But I agree with Teal'c. I think most men and women want to start a family, get married, have kids.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a digression. But thank you for the super chat.
Well, I don't know if it is a digression. It is directly related
not
to the
really.
thing that feminists are attacking, and
For sure.
it is generally like about 90-something% of people want these things. There's always this like single-digit percentage of oddballs who just don't, and they also that single percentage number of oddballs also seems to be the weird seems to have a weird amount of overlap with the people who are unusually intelligent and or productive in society. Like if you look at the upper echelons of like scientific achievement, mathematical achievement, there seems to be an overrepresentation of those kinds of people, and it's probably just because they're kind of spurgy, and so they can't really achieve the social bit of it, so they just in a lot of cases they're not interested in it. So it's just you just have to accept that those people exist.
Well, they provide in other ways, right?
Well, yeah, you don't have to provide with the whole family children thing. It really annoys me when you get trad cocks who play that card. It's like, no, you need to do this, otherwise you're wrong and evil. No, that's really stupid. But I'm not going to go into how and why, because I would be here for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with that. I think that people come in all kinds of flavors, and as long as nobody is directly going after heterosexuality as the source of all sin in the world, we're probably going to be fine, you know? So we don't have to force people to necessarily all do the same thing, as long as they're contributing in other ways and they aren't sucked into this toxic relational web thinking. You know, and they want to actually make the world better through their existence. We don't all have to do the same thing. Like this is not prescriptive. It's just I'm more like, why don't we stop putting these gigantic social barriers and ideological barriers towards people just doing what they do naturally? You know, if we just get rid of that, we don't have to force marriage. We don't have to make marriage compulsory. We don't have to make children compulsory. We don't even have to put I don't even think we have to put a lot of social pressure on it. We just have to take out the ideology and maybe make women have a little fewer sources of oxytocin and dopamine, and everything will probably be fine, right? It'll probably equalize itself. But yeah, anyway, if I get up the courage, I'll explain how I figured out the Lilith energy. Maybe if someone puts in a super chow and questioning that, asking me that, I'll be forced to. All right, let's go.
Cyborg replication is uncoupled from organic reproduction. Modern production seems like a dream of cyborg colonization work, a dream that makes the nightmare of Taylorism seem idyllic. And modern war is a cyborg orgy coded by C3I, Command Control Communications Intelligence.
So
and
war is feminine?
What?
War is feminine, according to her?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Like, I just want to get through this paragraph. Command Control Communication Intelligence, an $84 billion item in 1984's U.S. defense budget. I am making an argument for the cyborg as a fiction mapping our social and bodily reality, and as an imaginative resource suggesting some very fruitful couplings. Michael Foucault's biopolitics is a flaccid premonition of cyborg politics, a very open field. Okay.
Now, wow, she had to get.
I think I need to put this through like a translator, because I know that she's trying to say something coherent, but she feels the need to like just absolutely crowd this with like gobbledygook. So I'm gonna talk to Grok. Let me see. So we're gonna go to Grok, and I'm going to basically ask Grok to translate. I'm just gonna say, take this and give it to me in layman's terms. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. So give me this in layman's terms. Just so I can see how it puts it together. All right. Grok is working. Bottom line.
News, a data center has just somehow committed suicide somewhere in America. We didn't know such things were possible.
Bottom line, I'm just going to read the bottom line. We're all becoming cyborgs, humans blended with technology. Haraway thinks this is liberating. It breaks old rules about gender, sex, bodies, work, and power, and opens the door to new creative ways of being. Instead of fearing the machine human mix, she wants us to play with it and use it to imagine better futures.
Grok
There it is. Now,
averaging
how? What?
Grok is doing the Grok thing, which is making it sound better than it is. It's defending it, right?
Well, I mean, it's. I think it's just being somewhat objective. Like, she basically, this is what she wants to do. I didn't ask Grok to give me an opinion on it. But I think that it sounds to me in the same way that Mike Cernovich. You guys know who Mike Cernovich is? I remember him saying, he was on it doing an interview, and I just happened to see this clip on like Shorts or something, where he said that he doesn't use a cell phone, like a smartphone, because the people who use smartphones are basically cyborgs. That stood out to me as ridiculous. Like, using technology means you're a cyborg. Like you know what I mean? And I think that that's what she's saying, because like in 1984, the C31 command control communication and intelligence, just using technology makes you a cyborg. Like, that's what it sounds like, you know. So by that definition being as broad as it is, then we have been cyborgs like what, since like the fucking, I don't know, like the first machines, like the ancient Greeks, when they had like or the whatever, the aqueduct was made. I don't know, and I don't know, it's just like it's just a broadening of the definition. So Hula
Okay.
Troop says, I totally get that. Phones reprogram our brains, not the other way around. I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I think that we have free will and we don't have to like let them do anything to us if we don't want them to. But maybe I'm wrong. It starts to sound like I blame the internet for all of our woes. No, I blame people. How about that? But okay, go ahead, Allison.
All
What are you
right.
gonna say?
Okay, so I'm doing a full inventory of any mentions related to sexuality, right? Okay. And this is what she's basically saying. She's direct hits on the male generative sexual reproductive role.
No way.
Masculinist reproductive dream. Masculinist, which nobody is. There are no masculinists. The male, they constantly attribute to men, instead of masculinity, which would be a recognition that men have their own way of doing, they call it masculinist, which means it's an ideology, which means it's chosen and illegitimate at the same time. Masculinist reproductive dream, the male desire to self-replicated, derided as a caricature. Their fathers, after all, are inessential. Paternity declared dispensable. The fabrication of a heterosexual mate, completion in a finished whole, heterosexual pairing as the Frankensteinian trap, such nice organic prophylactics against heterosexism, heterosexual sex framed as an ideological pathology, the phallic mother from whom all humans must separate, the phallus relocated to the mother and made the thing to be escaped from. This one actually roots the phallus away from men. Modern war as cyber orgy, male-coded violence as displaced sexuality. The phallogocentrism cluster, 5 to 6 instances, attacks male authority over meaning language, not sexuality. Phallus as logos, not phallus as organ. The father patriarchy cluster attacks male origination, not eros. And here are more direct attacks. Couplings between organism and machine, not generated in the history of sexuality. Cyborg sex restores some of the lovely replicative baroque of ferns and invertebrates. Such nice organic prophylactics against heterosexism. Cyborg replication is uncoupled from organic reproduction. Modern war's cyborg orgy, the final appropriation of women's bodies in a masculinist orgy. Michael Foucault's biopolitics is a flaccid premonition of cyborg politics. I'm so clever. I'm mocking his penis and his ability to get it up. The only flaccid in the text applied to Foucault's theory, not to a body. Argument for pleasure and the confusion of boundaries. Oh God. What is pederast? What is the British word for pedo? Because I forget what it is. It's not a poofter, right? It's a nonce.
Nonce?
Yes.
Nonce.
Argument for pleasure and the confusion of boundaries. That's nonce talk. Committed to partiality, irony, intimacy, and perversity. Pleasurably tight coupling, human machine, of course, not human. Fruitful couplings, also human machine. Intense pleasure. This woman is writing a love letter to her vibrator. Intense
that
pleasure.
would make her a cyborg.
Yes, that's the source of her cyborg identity, guys. Yeah, polishing her knob with her electric toothbrush. Intense pleasure and skill, machine skill, partial, fluid, sometimes aspect of sex and sexual embodiment. Heterosexuality specified, all negative or pathologized. The prophylactics, the fabrication of a heterosexual mate, the radical change in American white heterosexuality. They get it wrong. Serial heterosexual monogamy. Silicon Valley's women's intimate realities listed among burdens. The harmony of legitimate heterosexuality in the garden of culture, and so cannot base identity on a myth. Moraga, heterosexuality is the myth one is excluded from and better for it. So I'm guessing that's the Garden of Eden. So heterosexual, sexuality was part of the Garden of Eden, and now we're excluded from it, and that's good. Because also the demiurge. All right, I'll reproduction consistently the target. Sexual reproduction is one kind of reproductive strategy among many. One kind, guys.
Lord.
Ideologies of sexual reproduction can no longer. Ideologies of sexual reproduction is sort of like masculinity being an ideology, not an actual cognitive process. So ideologies of sexual reproduction can no longer reasonably call on notions of sex and sex role as organic. Subverting the structure of desire and modes of reproduction of Western identity. Suspicious of the reproductive matrix and of most birthing. That's probably patriarchy being suspicious. Patriarchy being both enforcing the reproductive matrix and birthing on women, but also suspicious of it and hateful towards it, the thing that they've constructed. We require regeneration, not rebirth, not of woman born. Okay. Another's desire, not of the self's labor, is the origin of woman. You see that's what I was talking about, how she says that woman is an operative label applied to women by men. So they have to deny it and everything becomes this subjective, like where I am in the web. And that's the origin of everybody's identities in the female cognitive process, right?
Yeah.
Feminist consciousness of the non-existence of women except as products of men's desire. Probably she's calling out feminists saying that men only exist or women only exist in reflection of men's desire. All pleasure that's endorsed is human machine, not human. Right? So this is a woman's ode to her. I'm going to use a reference, Lily of the Valley. That's a reference to the No Man's Zone. It's like a Russian parody of feminism. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Lily of the Valley is like the ultimate status symbol. It's basically a vibrator. And in this feminist utopia, that is the ultimate status symbol and the ultimate consumerist item.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall
All
we
right.
continue?
So, yes, I got a Rumble rant from NovaFan21 for $1 before I read the next bit. And they say, I swear her commie nonsense is less coherent than the stammering copy pasta that goes, have you ever had a dream that you had your, Okay, thank you, NovaFan, for that. Next section, So I'll just read this first. The cyborg is a creature in a post-gender world. It has no truck with bisexuality, pre-Oedipal symbiosis, unalienated labor, or other seductions to organic wholeness through a final appropriation of all the powers of the parts into a higher unity. In a sense, the cyborg has no origin story in the Western sense. A final irony, since the cyborg is also the awful apocalyptic teleos of the West's escalating dominations of abstract individuation, an ultimate self an ultimate self untied at last from all dependency, a man in space. An origin story in the Western humanist sense depends on the myth of original unity, fullness, bliss, and terror represented by the phallic mother from whom all humans must separate, the task of individual development, end of history, the twin potent myths inscribed most powerfully for us in psychoanalysis and Marxism. Before you continue.
Oh, good Lord.
So I have been arguing for a while now, and I know that a lot of people know this is true, but I'm glad to see it here coming out, because what I'm seeing here is essentially like a big push for transhumanism, which I believe is what the transgender movement is about, which is essentially the removal of the separation of the mind from the body, and the removal of all categories in terms of our physical forms, which is why she says the cyborg is a creature in a post-gender world, has no truck with bisexuality, pre-Oedipal symbiosis, unalienated labor, or other seductions to organic wholeness through a final appropriation of all the powers of the parts into a higher unity.
But it's not it's not just separation from the mind, it's separation from the concept of self as well. So you just are a node in a social organism, and you're like, there was, I think Teal Dare pointed out, I think it was Teal Dare, that this is they're looking at the world, and they think that things exist because they're identified, right? Because they have an identity. So trans exists because it is an identity. It's like an identity divorced from the body. And that is something that only exists in the social web, but through social recognition. There isn't, well, I mean, there is an operative definition, but they also refuse that. You know, you notice that the whole brain science thing, they don't like to really seriously engage with, even when it comes to recognizing what transgender, transsexuality actually is. Which is why they don't use transsexuality, because they want it to be an identity constructed by recognition in the social web. And they're not even, and it's also not really a self, because in order to have a self, a real understanding of self, you have to be able to divorce yourself from the social web. And that requires more operative thinking. It requires being able to be able to step outside of yourself and see yourself, if that makes sense, which is, like a visual demonstration of this would be the selfie photos that women take. You know what I'm talking about? When they have an object and a woman wants to take,
the woman object test.
And when they describe first person point of view, they aren't in their actual direct experience. They're outside it, watching themselves as if they're in a web watching themselves, right? So they have to position themselves in relation to the object, because they are literally positioning themselves in relation to the social web. In order to actually have a sense of, like, a continuous sense of self, you have to be able to see yourself as separate, which means you have to be able to see yourself without reference to other people's cognition. Right? You have to be yourself, lights turned off, cell phone, like iPhone turned off, no social media, no girlfriends, just on your own, considering how well you have attended to your day's task loops, and in relation to your expectations for yourself, self-monitoring, in other words. And in a lot of ways, I don't think women have that. At least they don't have it in our society when, they don't get that V1AR cross activation. Right? That's what it is. Cross activation with oxytocin. So they don't get that priming to have that kind of specificity. They don't even regard themselves as an individual. So what they're doing with the trans thing is they've latched onto it because it is an identity that requires social recognition, continuous social recognition to maintain. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian? So it's right in their modality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they do that, it isn't about the self. Like, it's not about recognition of the self, because that requires an additional action which is independent of the social web, which they don't do naturally. So it's honestly, if you look at it this way, these women really do need men to drag them out of this tar pit of hell that they are constructing for themselves, which is why women are increasingly miserable. Because they are constantly subject to the whims of the social web with no inner core to anchor them. And that includes physical, like the physical recognition that you're a woman, which of course is patriarchy. Now, I feel like I've drifted, so I'm just going to shut up, and hopefully people can get what they can from that.
Yeah.
I've drifted into my own internal web. Okay.
Right. Teal, did you want to say anything, or can I just keep going?
My temptation is to throw in some small bits about the pill and estrogen receptor tickling that does, and how that messes with people's bonding and interacting with each other, but I don't think I will.
Well,
is that another kind of cyborg?
That's another kind of cyborg.
Yes, it is. As it turns out, when you shoot people full of exogenous hormones, it changes how they interact with people. And not always for the better, depending on which receptors you are tickling. But if you tickle one of them with a suitable amount of estrogen, it encourages bonding with a lowering amount of empathy. And what do you think that causes when it comes to humans? What do you think a human will do when they bond, or they want to bond, but they have slightly reduced capacity for empathy? What is going to happen there when it comes to in-group and out-group dynamics?
Can I make a comment that's coming out of left field? Forced to penetrate? No, that's really out left field.
Yeah.
Like desire to bond without empathy. That sounds like suspiciously like sexual assault, but maybe I'm taking that in a different direction.
Well, no, that's kind of a very extreme possible manifestation of it, but it's just so you're in a more salient position. Yeah, I mean this is more, I suppose, off in the wields, the wild fields. Wields are a thing. So we are in the wield of the endocrine architecture that you like to talk about and that I occasionally deal with, because why the hell not? Well, yes, when you have these oxytocin environments, it makes any interaction that you do more salient. So anytime you're in that sort of state, you're more. It's not so much receptive to positive bonding, but you're also more receptive to negative bonding, because it just raises the salience of any social interaction that you have. If you then tie it up,
okay, that's it. I see what you're going with this.
Yeah, well, that's what that is. And then if you pile, for instance, pills on top of that, hormonal birth control pills, which flood estrogen into the body. Now, floods of estrogen into the body encourage bonding. However, it's mostly estrogen alpha receptors that get tickled that do that encourage positive bonding, which obviously you need, because, hey, you have infant, so you get the oxytocin rushes, you get the dopamine rushes, you get that little bit of tickling onto your estrogen alpha receptors. These are all things to prime you for bonding with a child. However, pills are also able to tickle the estrogen beta receptors, and when those ones get tickled, it actually lowers people's emotional responses to things. Evolutionarily speaking, this may simply be, okay, you're in a situation of bonding positively or negatively. That's kind of necessary. Just bonding like that is just generally a bit more salient. You're having negative bonds stimulated, positive bonds stimulated. You're having the ability to bond something with empathy or bond something without empathy. It's very possible that this is just like a survival mechanism for like stillbirth and things like that you can kind of separate from a little bit. But if you take all of that together, you're putting someone in a position whereby they are more salient to bonding, so they're more open to positive and negative. And if you're flooding them with exogenous estrogens, which tickle the beta receptors at a higher rate than they would naturally, because it's an exogenous substance, there's more of it and it's tickling more of those receptors than natural production would. You are effectively putting someone in a position where they are wanting to bond with things. Any bonding experience they have is more salient. It's written more upon their psyche than it would be. They have that desire to bond, but they're lowering their ability to empathize with other people in those bonds. Like, this is a wonderful thing that if you want to increase
Overly
rates
attached
of,
girlfriend. Overly attached girlfriend.
if you want to have overly attached girlfriends who don't actually care that much about you, if you want to encourage women to be a little more sexually aggressive while not caring about what their partners are doing, if you wanted people to have that urge and desire to bond with in-groups and lower rates of empathy, which would then, because you're primed for positive and negative in-group and out-group, so you're primed for more salience of positive interaction with in-groups, and you're also primed for more negative or less empathetic bondings to out-groups, you then get women who are going to be more politically extreme because you have people who are looking at their in-group and thinking, this is my in-group, I really, really like them, and because I'm slightly defective in lowered empathy because of exogenous estrogen, I also view my out-group as less human than I would otherwise.
Yep.
Now, with all of this stuff that I've just laid out here, does this not sound exactly like the society that we live in?
It does indeed. And then you have the additional problem with women having such incredible comfort that they don't get that V1A cross activation with oxytocin. So oxytocin binding to V1A R or V1A V1A
No,
receptors.
it is V1AR. That's the receptor.
The reason why I paused.
It.
The reason why I would pause is because I realized I was saying V1AR and then using the word receptors after it, and I was like, oh wait, no, that's not okay. I just did a brain fart there. But yeah, it's you don't get that cross activation, which means you don't get that empathy with specificity. So that's empathy towards individuals rather than categories. So you get a situation where women are empathizing with trans people, which is actually functionally impossible, and I'm going to tell you why. The real empathy is empathizing with people who happen to be trans, right? So you empathize with somebody who happens to be trans, you empathize with somebody who happens to be, I don't know, or to have cancer, or you empathize, and I'm going to try to use an example that isn't like a medical. You empathize with people who happen to be a minority. Do you see the difference? You know, the difference between I empathize with trans people versus I empathize with a person who happens to be trans. Right? You're putting the person first. You're putting the individual first, and that's really the only way you can express compassion, because it's actionable. It's an individual. If they need something, you can identify it and give it to them. You cannot give anything to the category trans. And that's what their empathy is. It's categorizing people and then saying, I have empathy for trans. It's like you cannot have empathy for a category. Like it's just functionally impossible.
Yeah.
Because the category isn't a person, and empathy requires a specific target. So I think that ties exactly to what you're saying, Teal dear. So that not only do they have this more powerful in-group, which is a category bonding, and in the case of what Donna Haraway is doing, she has constructed an in-group that is so nebulous, everything is out-group. So it isn't even really about caring about the in-group, it's about hating the out-group. So when you're that estrogen dominant, it isn't about caring about the in-group, it's about hating an out-group because you don't have empathy, or you have lowered empathy, and you certainly have no specific empathy. So the in-group is always category. It's never a specific person. You're always expressing or virtue signaling your concern over categories that categorically you can't really have empathy for, and you have no empathy for anyone specific. You see what I'm saying? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't have empathy for something abstract or like a group of people,
Or at
like a
least you can't
category.
express it. You can't
No,
activate. You
but
can't
it's
like
empty.
actualize it.
It's like saying you care about the XYZ community,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
But it's not because it's real or because those people might even benefit. It's because you want to be seen as someone who cares. So it's purely self-serving. It's purely egoist.
Yes, and it's purely about identifying an outgroup ultimately,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
it's not
that's
about
right.
expressing.
That's right.
It's not about expressing empathy to someone you could actually express compassion for, because you could take compassionate actions.
Yeah.
It's about expressing virtue towards a category group, and that, people don't really belong to categories. Categories are abstractions. So ultimately, it's about using the category to create the largest possible outgroup to direct her hostility against, which
Yes.
exactly maps to what Teal Deer was saying in terms of what the pill is doing to women, estrogen receptors, in
Yes.
conjunction with what I'm saying about V1AR cross activation with
Yes.
oxytocin. Okay.
Okay, so I'm running out of time. I got like maybe 15 minutes. But someone in the chat is asking you to check your super chows, and
Okay.
I looked and there's nothing new here, so I'm guessing something is stuck.
I'll poke the
So
voles.
yeah,
Okay.
go
So
ahead and see if there's something there. It was from
you have to
Kanoko's
go
evil
immediately?
twin. No, I got like 10 minutes,
Okay.
but soon. So I'll finish off this paragraph, and I think you got like an analysis thing you want to do, and we can just stop there. So
Okay.
Hillary Clinton. Oh yeah,
I
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I can, if it's not showing up, I can read it.
Yeah, it's not showing up.
Okay, I'll read it off here. Because I got my own little dashboard. So this is from, shoot, it doesn't really give me the name. That should pop up. So but this is we've been cyborgs since the first use of technology. So since the innovation of the wheel, or the first use of fire in cooking, or the innovation of pockets in clothing. Wow, guys, we've been cyborgs for over 12,000 years, yo. No, I'm pretty sure that she would date the creation of the cyborg with vibrators you can buy in like Woolsworth or something.
What if it started when, because it was said, and she's framing this in like a, let's say, in contrast to Abrahamic religions like Christianity. As you said, this has Lilith energy. Lilith being a character that doesn't actually appear in the Bible, by the way, but appears in the Talmud, but that's another story for another time. But Adam, was one thing that he did when he was in the garden was he named all of the animals. So God created all the animals, but Adam named all the animals, the plants, and the things that fly in the air and crawl on the ground. So he categorized them, and Eve spoke to the animals. That's why the snake was able to talk to her, was able to like tempt her, because she speaks to the animals and then speaks for them in a way. So it's almost like she was an advocate. So, and maybe that goes into the thing that Alison has been talking about, which I think is interesting, is that men work in this sort of like, I don't know, causality and objective measuring of the world. Like they give things names and they put them into categories, and they compartmentalize them and find out what their uses are in terms of their input and output and their functions. that's why men like to talk about, like, for example, the lore of like fantasy worlds, and they look at it from a very systems oriented way. And women like the social web stuff, like Eve was interested in talking to the animals, which is why she was able again to advocate for them and speak to the serpent. So I just think it's an interesting thing because it's sort of like, I don't know if I'm adding anything, but it's sort of like expanding on that, because again, this woman is she is trying to discredit the male contribution to the world. That's why she's eliminating categories, it seems, because
Yes.
men create categories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
So
create categories in order to establish task loops that interact with their environment, right?
yeah,
And again, that's the modality that she cannot. I don't know if she's really aware that it exists, and or if she just thinks that if she makes it illegitimate, she doesn't have to deal with it, or she doesn't have to consider that there's a style of cognition that she doesn't have access to. You know, there might be profound insecurity on her part.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
Anyway, yeah, Lilith is a heretical, is a heresy that
oh, is
doesn't exist in the Bible. But anyway, go ahead.
somebody asking about Lilith?
No, no, um, no. I was just saying, because you were saying it's Lilith coded, and I was saying Lilith comes from the Talmud.
Yeah. Well, but that's,
She's
I mean, that's still,
Babylonian. She was a Babylonian thing.
yeah, but
Babylonian.
I think it's
But
still
go ahead.
legitimate. I mean,
No, I
it's
know it's
probably,
still I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it. I'm basically saying it doesn't. She doesn't exist in the Bible in the way, at least not in the way that how do I put this? Because I know that there are people who don't think that anything in the Bible is legitimate, but I'm just saying it's not in the commonly understood versions. I'll put it that way. So, but
yeah,
anyway,
okay. All right, so that was from, I'm going to just use Magic Lantern because he didn't go through Super Chow. That previous Super Chow was from Magic Lantern for $5. Thank you, Magic Lantern. So yeah, this is, I did do a little analysis comparing Haraway's versus the VNS matrix, which was what you were reading. And
yeah,
this is, it says, so the analysis is this: same architecture, opposite craft register. Haraway is the high theory formalization. VNS matrix is the same operation stripped to its combat function and shouted. Where Haraway spends 1,700 words building affinity, not identity, which is basically things don't have they don't exist in reality, they only exist in the relational web, the web of things. VNS matrix asserts the finished outgroup topology in 12 lines. The moral circle. The manifestos is pure target acquisition with the care register almost entirely deleted. No litter, no lemurs, no unreachable sympathetic objects to launder the hostility. The in-group is we, the modern cunt. The outgroup is named directly, Big Daddy mainframe. The moral code, the symbolic, the discourse. The verbs are all hostile, rupturing, sabotaging, terminating, infiltrating, disrupting, corrupting. This is the Haraway operation with the sandbags removed. So what the reference to the sandbags is, you know, if you're in a position that you're trying to hold, you use sandbags to protect it. Haraway is using the lemurs, the agility dog, all of the mushrooms, the ferns. She's using this as a way of protecting her position. So, and saying that this is about, you know, we're not actually a machine gun nest. We're about caring about the butterflies. Disregard the sound of bullets coming out from our position. We're really, and also if you even acknowledge the fact that bullets are coming out of your position, that's patriarchal thinking. That is misogyny. We're not shooting at you. You're shooting at us. This is the Haraway operation with the sandbags removed, which is why it reads as aggressive rather than ethical. It's honest about being a weapon. Haraway's craft is precisely the litter that VNS Matrix doesn't bother to deploy. So Haraway's hiding what she's doing. Matrix is just out in the open, spraying bullets at everything. So this is a more direct attack on men and how they do. The pair bond and reproductive architecture aren't dissolved through theory. They're replaced with a single decontextualized organ wired to a network. The clitoris is a direct line to the matrix. So the intercourse is no longer between man and woman. It's between clitoris and the matrix vibrator. Sex is uncoupled not just from reproduction, Haraway's move, but from any partner at all. Autoerotic, machine interfaced, with no second person. The bonding context isn't reorganized, it's deleted. Unbounded, unleashed, unforgiven is the explicit rejection of any terminal bonding state. So this is feminism not just rejecting heterosexuality, but literally human bonding in its entire spectrum. All right, obviously this is reading default, like the VNS manifesto, the modern cunt manifesto, with its direct interface with the machine orgasm. We see art with our cunt. We make art with our cunt. The organ does no organ-specific work. It's a symbol of transgression, swappable with any abject token. The essay confirms this. Slime, abjection, the visceral template all rotate through the same slot. Direct line to the matrix is the cleanest case. The clitoris isn't connected to anything. It is a position marker in the social web.
What? These people are so like they're just this is just I don't know. They're horny all the time and they need to stop. Where's my bonk?
Yes. They are. They are seeking something, and that something is very obvious when you read between the lines. Her clitoris has no direct line to the matrix, and the rhetoric mystifies technology and misinterprets the daily life of the female computer worker. That's the swap test failure called out by name. The operative reader actually does the technical work, hits the referent check, and the symbol collapses. Yes, how do we connect clitorises to the matrix?
Good Lord.
What's the coupling apparatus? VNS Matrix is more revealing than Haraway, precisely because it's worse crafted. Oh man, Punish Claude's getting sassy. It shows what the cyber-feminist operation is when you remove the care laundering, a stated in-group with no positive content, defined entirely by what it ruptures, occupying a named antagonist, corrupting a named antagonist, with the body reduced to a transgression token. Haraway supplies the moral cover that makes the identical structure read as ethics. This essay's closing, smeared with slime, they smiled, is the affect the care register normally hides. So Haraway is, putting a fig leaf on it. The cunt manifesto, the cyber cunt manifesto, that's just taking the fig leaf off and letting the engorged matrix clitoris hang right out. Sorry for making that gross.
You didn't make it. You didn't make it.
Oh, it is sort of repulsive. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's the connection between what Brian was reading and what Haraway was creating. Haraway
it's a continuation of her work then.
Yes, it is.
They're taking it to the next level, guys.
Yeah, they're taking it to the next level. They're taking it to the point where they pull the gun out and say, "Here you go, suckers. This is the payload right in your face."
It's not quite as cool as I had hoped cyberpunk would be.
Yeah.
It's just
all right.
It's just horny. That's it.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I'm afraid I have to stop.
Yeah.
So, Teal Deer, do you want to say anything about this before we can get through more of this later, but I can't believe this woman got paid to do this. I mean, I can, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can spurg out slightly about Lilith and the origins of Christianity and the weird Gnostic texts that should have got put into the Bible and were not, and all of that weirdness. I'm not going to, because that will be very, very lengthy and a tangent. Other than that, I'm going to say inevitably there are people who get upset at me when I point out biopsych origins of people's behaviors. They like to say, oh, you're being prescriptive and biologically determinist and asserting that people will do these things. No, when I talk about these patterns of behavior, it's merely in a population large enough in these certain things, it would not be a surprise if you see certain behaviors manifest. An example I always use for this is addiction. There are literally alleles 1 and 2 in your body. If they are both a certain particular way, and you have a serotonin deficiency in your cerebrospinal fluid, you will be more
Prone to
aimed
addiction?
at addiction. Yeah, you'll be more prone to addiction. It doesn't mean you will become an addict to anything. You can control your environment. You can control your behavior. It's simply if you have two populations, one high in that allele frequency and one low in that allele frequency, you would expect just everything else being even in the environment for the first population that is higher in that allele frequency to have more forms of addiction. Just any form of addiction, doesn't matter what it is. Could be sex, could be drugs, could be rock and roll, could be video games. Doesn't matter. Could be all three. Could be all of them. Doesn't matter. You would just be more inclined to see that. So when I point out all these things regarding exogenous estrogens going into the bodies and altering how people behave, it's not saying any particular one person would be. It's just if you blast like 3/4 of your population with it, it's not going to be a surprise if the population changes its behavior slightly.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
I just feel the need to put those disclaimers on these things every so often. People like to get really angry when you say, hey, did you know that humans are biological organisms and that behavior is a product of biology?
Mm-hmm.
And some people get really mad at you for that for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
As
although
it turns out, humans are biological. They are not your consciousness is not this thing that gets beamed into your brain. Your brain is actually just this giant, complicated meat sack that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
Well, I mean, I still allow the position that there could be divinity in all of this. I'm not
Even
gonna
if there
close it up.
is, that doesn't that
It doesn't change.
Yeah, it
doesn't-
doesn't change the fact that you have genes and they do things.
Yes, it doesn't.
Like that. Even if you want to say like, nah, human consciousness is totally something exogenous, it's totally something from elsewhere. Okay, but you still have all these underlying things that matter, so
Yep. So attend to them, humans.
Yes.
yeah, it is
Okay.
kind of weird
I don't
number
disagree.
of people when they start trying to do this. They always end up with this weird human divine argument where it's like, no, everything about humans evolved except the brain. At some point, the brain just popped into existence, and it is exactly the same between all people at the point of conception and possibly at the point of birth or very shortly before that, after which it starts changing.
Yeah.
Yes, that is definitely how animals work. 100%.
And also
You nailed it.
patriarchy is injected into baby boys' brains at the moment of birth or something. The
Yeah.
patriarchy fairy just waves his phallus and they all become little patriarchs. And that's not a bioessentialist truth. It's not something, even though it's 1-to-1 for every boy born, it's not bioessentialist because that's not allowed. No brain, all brains are different, or all brains are the same. There's no male and female brain. It's just that patriarchy always emerges in the male one. The desire to oppress the opposite sex always emerges in the male one. But that's not a gender. That's not a sex differentiation somehow. It's interesting because it's all like, but again, contradictions just are coordinates, signaling coordinates in the relational web. So, okay, I sense that Brian must depart. Is this correct?
I'm afraid so. Yeah, I have to go pick up
But
Lindsay.
we can pick this up again whenever you feel up to it, Kildare. And you can talk
I mean, I can
about
only do this in
never
little
feel
bits.
up to dealing with Donna Haraway. Her writing style hurts me.
okay,
Yeah, it's
perhaps
painful.
perhaps when the
We-
task loop
We could do
loop
something
opens-
else if you find something more less cancerous, I guess.
Well, how about
Then
this?
we are never discussing feminism ever again. This is now a
Yeah,
40K law
right.
channel. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually curious about what you have to say about Lilith and the mythology around that.
Oh, that's
And
just going to
Gnosticism.
involve me spurging about the origins of Christianity and how everything that you know about it was written about 400 or 500 years after the religion actually founded, and how it's all basically just Zoroastrianism balled up and screwed up and shoved into Jewish-shaped robes. But people get upset when I point things like that out. Look, again, it's almost like they start with this divine thing, and my religion, my particular interpretation of my denomination at some point just popped, fully formed into existence. It has no corollary with anything else that was happening in that era at that time, which is really weird when you have a messiah and the concept of one. But there was no concept of one before that. Like, the religion fell fully formed with a messiah inside it, with no sort of prophecy or anything. No, just don't think about it. Don't ask it. Religion didn't change. Spirituality didn't change. There weren't shifts with all of these things. It just appeared one day. That's how.
Well, I would like to think that, setting aside the argument about where the origin of these things came from, because I think that if there was a God, the way that he would operate would probably be on the societal level anyway. And I'm not saying that there isn't either. I'm open to all of this. So, but the other thing is that what remains is that these religions have very functional prescriptions for managing human stuff that doesn't seem to exist outside of them. So the question is, how do we look at them and look at their evolution and derive something beneficial to us going forward? So I personally don't have a problem with talking about how things evolve socially, in terms of how religions evolve, how they develop, and all of that other stuff. But so it's fascinating to me. It's a conversation I would love to have, but I don't know if it would make other people uncomfortable. So
I just find that there's a particular strain of very online Christian who gets incredibly angry at you about it, which I don't even understand, because as I always like to point to them, it's like, okay, look, even though I am objectively archaeologically correct about this, me pointing this out doesn't invalidate what you think or what you believe, right? Any relationship you have with transcendental, that can still be in place. You can still have that. You can still believe the things that you do. You can still say, okay, this book, this is what of this did come from other places. This is like the finalized version, and this is like literally this guy came to fulfill the thing. This is it. This is the fulfill. You can still do that. Like, me just pointing out that there's other stuff around there related to it and before it doesn't say that you can't do this or that you're wrong for doing this now. But some people just take it as personal attacks, I guess. Because
I would point to, because this is the argument. You know what? We need to stop.
Yeah, we should stop.
Okay.
We can talk about it. I'm open to it next week, whatever.
Yeah. Well, or whenever Teal Deer is feeling.
Yeah, whenever we.
Not able. Feeling up to dealing with.
I mean, I wanted to get into a thing with Lilith with Janice Fiamengo, because I wanted to talk about the story as like a, as a piece of literature that's often used by feminists to sort of like back their belief system.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I wanted to see the connections between Lilith and feminism, because I think that there might be something there, but Janice said that she hadn't read a lot of that. So I thought, okay, well, maybe there'll be another opportunity. So we could talk about Lilith next time if you guys want.
Yeah, the Lilith energy of the Cyber Manifesto. If you're open to it, but I mean, okay, maybe I'm framing this wrong. This is Alison. A problem that needs to be resolved. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send a message after the show is over. If you want to comment on any of this, you want to tell us anything you want us to talk about, elaborate on. And be at badgernation.online if you want to read more of my thoughts. that
Yeah.
when I, like they're a little more concise when I write them out because I get help with my ADHD from Punished Claude. Yeah, so that's badgernation.online if you want to read more. And thank you, Teal dear, and very appreciated. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I'll hand it back to Brian.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Teal Deer, for coming on the show, and thank you guys for coming on. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about cyberfeminism. Were you able to follow this at all? And yeah, what do you guys want us to delve into next time? If you have any suggestions, let us know. Thanks again for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.